Department of Census and Statistics is the lead institution of the national statistics system in Sri Lanka. It collects, compiles, and disseminates up-to-date statistical information requiring for planning, implementation, and monitoring progress of the development in the country. We are fortunate to have with us Dr. A.J. Satharasinghe, the Director General of the Department, to take us through your efforts in mapping the SDG data. The presentation will be titled Setting Up a Sustainable Development Goals Indicator Framework in Sri Lanka. Over to you, sir.
I hope you don't mind my keep standing and presenting this time, right? Good morning to you all. I think this one is very timely because as you know that already 3 years passed and it is high time to start our work in a very systematic way. Now, especially this, I'm talking about the indicators. And now, first of all, we all know that there are, as at 6th of July 2017, there were 17 aspirational goals, so global goals have been introduced. And also, those goals are monitored by 169 targets. And these targets, the words goals and targets are a little bit vague. Those are just set of words. But in order to measure the achievement of these goals and targets, we have to come out with indicators, measurable parameters. Those are indicators. And by as at 6th of July 2017, there are 244 indicators and 332 indicators are unique. What does it mean? The balance indicators are used to measure more than one target or more than one goal. And also, as it was mentioned earlier, the government of Sri Lanka is expecting to achieve these goals by the year 2030. Now, actually now, there were 15 years to achieve these goals, as already 3 years elapsed. Now it is 12 years. And as I said, there are 17 goals, 169 targets, and 232 unique indicators. And I think that the number 9 in the last bullet should be corrected as 12. There are 12 indicators repeated in different places, and those indicators are used to measure more than one target. Now, for example, if you take this particular indicator, that is proportion of population reporting having personally felt discriminated against or harassed in the previous 12 months on the basis of a ground of discrimination prohibited under the international human rights law, it is appeared in under two different targets, that is 10.3.1 and 16.b.1. So that is why it is 244. 12 indicators are there in more than one place. And now I will just brief you. I think the whole purpose of this today, the purpose of this session today, this gathering today and tomorrow. Now, this is what we are going to, this is the basis of this gathering. What is that basis? Now, first of all, in order for us to proceed, we should know, first of all, we should know what are the indicators. Out of these 244 indicators, we have to identify what are the indicators relevant to Sri Lanka. It's very, very important. Not that all 244 indicators are relevant to all the countries. The UN is insisting the countries to localize those indicators, identify the indicators that are relevant to the country. If the indicators as given by the UNSD is not relevant, we have full freedom to decide instead of those indicators what should be used in the country. Now, first of all, we need to identify the indicators relevant to the country. The second one is we have to start monitoring. We have to start monitoring the achievements, where we are heading. For that, we need to find out, we need to estimate or provide baseline data for those indicators that are relevant to the country. And then we have to decide where we are going in 2030. What are the values that we would like to see for those identified indicators? If you don't know, we should know where we are now and also where we are heading. In 2030, what are the levels that we are going to achieve? And then you can't wait. We all can't wait until 2030 and 2031 we can't do a survey or any other study and say, look, we have not achieved these goals. That is not the way. We have to decide the frequency at which we have to monitor the progress in achieving these goals. What does it mean? We have to have the data in between. So we have to decide what the frequency in collecting the data in between. And about 1 year back, the Department of Census and Statistics did a study to identify the indicator framework. The indicator framework means it's a list of indicators giving the full corresponding information. So what are the information? Who is producing, at what frequency, what is the baseline value, what is the unit of measurement for what is the base year, and also what is our target in 2030. So what is the target in between? So that kind of document is called an indicator framework. So we try to prepare, that is we in the sense Department of Census and Statistics, tried to prepare an indicator framework with respect to the indicators compiled by my own department, Department of Census and Statistics. I will tell you what the steps that we followed, and also I am going to ask you, all the government institutions, it is better if you can follow the same steps and come out with a document, and I think we have already distributed some formats. I mean, if you can fill those formats and send it to us, we can prepare the indicator framework for the whole country. Now, what we did at the department is, first of all, I formed a high-level committee, members of which can make decisions on behalf of the department. I appointed a committee, and that committee look at the indicators published by the UNSD, United Nations Statistics Division, and United Nations Statistics Division have a separate website in giving the metadata about these indicators. We all know the metadata is data about data. Now, if you take an indicator, you need to know the definition. You need to know the unit of measurement. You need to know what is the agency responsible for giving this information. That kind of data is called metadata. So my staff, that committee, went through this metadata file for indicator by indicator. And then this metadata file, UNSD metadata file, give a lot of information on the indicators. I repeat, this metadata file of the UNSD give enough information about the indicators. So we all should know that, because if you just look at the indicator, you will feel like it is very complicated. Yes, it is very complicated. But if you read this metadata, it will make your life easy, because with that you will understand easily the definition of those indicators. So that helped a lot. And then after that, the department came out with a classification system with respect to the indicators compiled by the DCS. Just before going into the next slide, I will take this opportunity to tell you how user-friendly is that UNSD metadata base. This is just one screen. From the box on the left-hand side, you can select the goal. If you select the goal, all the targets coming under that, from the second box within the first large one, you can select the target also. I think you all can see it. The first box is to select the goal, and second box is to select the target, and then indicators coming under that particular target will be listed on the right-hand box. So you select the indicator, click on the metadata button. When you click on the metadata button, you will be able to download the PDF file giving all metadata with respect to that particular indicator. And look at this list of information. These are the kind of information that you can get from that metadata file. It gives you information with respect to each of those indicators, the corresponding goal, target, the definitions and method of computation, the concepts and the rationale for interpretation, disaggregation levels. Remember, this disaggregation level is very, very important. we know that the theme of the SDGs is to not to leave anyone behind. So in that case, disaggregation level is very, very important. We are conducting large number of surveys and censuses. There we collect the information on the gender and the disability status, but we had not cross-tabulated the other indicators with the disability status. Now, after this SDG, now we have decided to compile all our indicators or disaggregated all our indicators with respect to disability status also. Then only you can make sure that disabled people are not leaving behind in your development process. And also it talks about sources of data and also the limitations, current data availability, responsible entities. Likewise, we should know all these things with respect to all these indicators. It may not be all, but some of the relevant things. And I said that I appointed a committee. They went through all the indicators of the SDG, and also they look at the indicators compiled by our own department. And then we came out with a classification system for our indicators. You know that, I'm not sure whether all of you know aware about this one. The United Nations Statistics Division has come out with 3-tier classification system. But I thought at the beginning, it is not enough for our country to start with. So therefore, we came out with 5-level disaggregation classification system. Now, this is the classification system. One is, there are indicators, we have baseline data. For some indicators, we have baseline data, and because we are conducting number of surveys and censuses, and some of the indicators, the definitions are exact UN definitions. For some indicators, the definitions are not exact definitions, but those are proxy indicators. No problem, because UN is encouraging us to localize our data. So if you don't have the exact definitions, indicators complying with the exact definitions, you have the full freedom to go into the proxy indicators. And also there are some indicators we don't have. There are indicators that we are not compiling it currently, but we can compile it. Because if you take the Department of Census and Statistics, its mandate is to compile the demographic and socioeconomic data. We can't talk about the plant species because Census Department doesn't have any specialist on those particular areas, but we are experts in demographic and socioeconomic data. So therefore, although we are not compiling, there are some indicators like, I will give you some examples for these little later. And also there is another set of indicators department can't compile, and but it is available with another institute, and there can be indicators the department can't, but another institute can, but they are not compiling. And there is another set of indicators which are globally monitored, and there is another set of indicators not relevant to Sri Lanka. And if you take one example with respect to the Census and Statistics Department, this is one example, the stunting percentage. And this stunting percentage, we are following the exact definitions as of UN. So this is a perfect example. This is complying with all the requirements of the UNSD. And if you take this example, this is the, what is the indicator? Indicator is prevalence of moderate and severe food insecurity in the population based on the food insecurity experience scale. That is a separate scale, but we are not compiling data according to that scale, but we are using a scale called HFIAs. We don't have the exact definition, but we have a proxy indicator. And there is another classification is, we are not compiling it now, but we will compile it. One example is this one. Indicator is proportion of time spent on unpaid domestic and care work by sex, age, and location. We did a survey. We did a time use survey in 2017. So there is this indicator will be available to the country by mid of this year. So this is not, we had not compiled it, but we arranged to compile it. And this year we are conducting a separate survey to compile another 28 SDG indicators. And if you take the indicators monitored at regional and global level, Now, if you take this particular example, direct economic loss attributed to disaster in relation to global gross domestic product. We may providing this information, maybe Disaster Management Center will provide the data to the UN, but they will monitor it at global level. And this example, this is an example for not relevant to the country. The indicator is proportion of girls and women aged 15 to 49 years who have undergone female genital mutilation by age. I hope this is not relevant to the country. And based on the outcome of this study, we came out with a publication. We released it. Actually, the first copy was presented to the Honorable Deputy Speaker at the Parliament. Here, everything that we did are documented here. We have identified the indicators for which data are available with the DCS, and we have given the baseline data with complete picture, unit, year, and the value, and also the frequency of updating, all that. And the indicators which we will compile in the future are included there, and also not relevant, and the indicators that will be globally monitored. This book is available, and a soft copy of this book is available in our website. The purpose is we will keep on updating this soft copy, because no point in printing the document every year, but we keep on updating the publication of soft copy of the publication in our website. And a question was raised whether there is any web portal currently to host this data. Yes, parallel to the launching of that publication, we launched a web page also. Here, all the indicators that I discussed in the previous publication are here, and we will continue to update this website. And now the important point, and now what we expect from you all, right? I think the main purpose of this 2-day gathering is this one. I hope that this will be the topic that we will be discussing during these 2 days. What we expect from the other institutions other than the DCS. So I think the best way to tackle this one, because I think we as Sri Lankans, right, if we want to achieve the 2030 agenda, we must know where we are now, we must know where we want to go by 2030, and in order to monitor whether we are really heading there, we need to have the values in between. We have to complete each institution in this country. As the Department of Census and Statistics did, all the other institutions should follow this one, and I think we have given you a format to report this data. If you complete this exercise, we will be very proud. Very proudly, we can say that Sri Lanka is having a complete indicator framework for the country. And it is a simple thing that what we have to do is a very simple thing. What we have to do is, first of all, for each institute should appoint a committee. Otherwise, this will not happen. One officer cannot do this one. A committee should be appointed. And the second activity is that committee should take little time and go through these all 244 indicators. If you don't do this one, if you just pick it here and there, the exercise will not be a complete one. You have to go through, very patiently, you have to go through all these 244 indicators. And then you may not be able to understand the indicators as it is. As I told you previously, you must go through, you must visit this indicator metadata framework, UNSD metadata site should be visited, right? And then you have to decide whether you are compiling data currently you are compiling the data for your department for those selected indicators, or as per the definitions given in the UNSD. If not, whether you are compiling it with an alternative definition, that's a proxy indicator. And also you are not compiling right now, but you can compile it in the future. We will have to identify those indicators. And also you have to identify the indicators that are likely to be monitored at regional level. And the other thing is, the indicators which are not relevant to the country, you have to give an equal weight to that one also, because there is no other institution who can talk about indicators falling within the scope of your institution. If you miss that part, then it will be missed for the country, right? Because if a particular agency, scope of an indicator is falling within an institute, and if that institute does not identify that indicator as not relevant to the country, there is no other institute who can declare that one. So therefore, that is also important. And also, to report the findings, we have given you, I think it has already been posted, right? The formats. Yeah, either you will be given, or maybe we may have already given. We will have to fill those 3 formats, giving that information with that exercise. And then now these are the formats that we are talking about. Now I think I will not take time for this one, but for each of these formats, you will have to report this information to us. All right. It's a very, very, very user-friendly format and also self-explanatory. At any time, if you want any further information, DCS will willingly support you. And that is about data that you already have. This is about indicators to be compiled. You are not compiling it. This is a sheet that you will have to use it for the indicators that you will be compiling in the future. And also there is another one. That is the third format. This is the format that we will have to use to report the indicators coming under the scope of your institution, but you feel like it is not relevant to the country. I'll just quote some example. This is one example. This indicator is compiled by the Ministry of Health. It is exactly complying with the UN definitions. So by that, I am trying to tell you there are some indicators compiled by one institute and complying exactly with the UN definitions. That's one example. And if you take this one, this is an example. Ministry of Environment is using a different definition, not the exact definition, right? This is an example for that. And also there is another indicator monitored at regional level. That is number of countries that have implemented well-managed migration policies. There is another indicator not relevant to Sri Lanka, amount of fossil fuel subsidies per unit of GDP. This indicator may not be relevant. So that institute will have to identify it. All right. So that is the end of my presentation. But I would like to repeat that statement again. All the other institutes of this country, other than the DCS, will have to undergo this activity, will have to carry out this activity, and you will have to identify the indicators that you are already compiling, and with as per the UN definition, you are compiling. That's a proxy indicator. It's different from the UN definition. And another indicator, you can compile. You are not current now. You are not compiling, and you have to identify the indicators which are likely to be monitored at regional level. And the last one is indicators that are not relevant to the country. I repeat, that is very, very important. If there is an indicator falling within the scope of your institute, but if you feel like it is not relevant, you will have to declare it, because there is no other agency to talk about such indicators. Thanks a lot.